This is the day trading strategy that has consistently shown me returns like these ones. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you exactly how to use it. So with that being said, let's just jump straight onto the charts. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Mark, aka Tells. I strictly day trade NQ futures. So this strategy is going to work the best, at least how I've tested it on NQ futures. Now that doesn't mean that this strategy is completely exclusive to NQ futures, but I'm just saying I have only ever used it on NQ futures. So that's where I get all my data from, and what I would recommend using it on if you are to go ahead and follow what I'm about to show you in this video. Now, first things first, we are going to be going over the rules for this strategy. Any profitable strategy, you need to have a written set of rules that you can look at and follow to a T. Now, before we get into this, I will say that this strategy is ever changing, and I will try to update you guys as much as possible on this channel every time that I tweak it or make changes to it. But my strategy is constantly evolving because the more that I use it, the more that I learn from it, and then the more that I can work on it to make it better. I dropped a strategy video on my old channel months ago that was pretty much this same strategy. However, now I have added some new things, I have taken away things, and I've just kind of tweaked stuff in general. What I have now is the best that it's ever been. For the rules, we are going to be utilizing the 15-minute time frame, the 5-minute time frame, the 2-minute time frame, and the 1-minute time frame. 4 different time frames to keep in mind right there. We are going to be drawing supply and demand zones on the 15-minute and the 5-minute charts. SND right there stands for supply and demand. If you don't know what supply and demand is or how to draw supply and demand zones, I am not going to be going in depth on it in this video. However, I would recommend that you guys click up here right now to check out Steph's video on it. He has an absolutely amazing, very informative, very educational video on supply and demand and how to draw zones effectively. Thirdly, we are going to be executing our entries on those smaller time frames, which are going to be the 2-minute and the 1-minute. The next rule you can see here written out is we are going to be using the 5-minute Hikinashi for confluence. If you don't know what the 5-minute Hikinashi is, or what a Hikinashi chart is in general, I should say, it is this little guy over here on the right hand side of my screen. You can see that I have one panel over here, which is like my main chart, and then I have this smaller panel over here. This is actually called the 5-minute Hikinashi. What you can do to get this pulled up on your chart is if you have the premium subscription on TradingView, if you click this button right up here and then click right here, you'll have 2 panels open. You can drag this bar right here to change the size of them. I make this one a lot smaller because you only really need to be looking at the rightmost candle on it, or the most recent candle, I should say. And in order to get your candles to actually change to the Hikinashi candles as opposed to these standard candlesticks, is you're going to click on here and then click up on this little icon right here, scroll all the way down right here to where it says Hikinashi, click on that, and then you will be met with this. And then make sure you are on the 5-minute time frame right up here for that. Now we're getting into the actual or technical things of the strat, and we are going to be always targeting a 1-to-1 risk to reward or better. 90% of the time, you are going to want to be taking 2-to-1 RR setups. Now in my old strat, I used to have a set 20-point SL and set 40-point TP. However, I have found the most success recently and been able to find more setups with varying risk to reward ratios and varying TPs and SLs. I really do love 2-to-1 RRs because it means if you win a trade, you have to lose 2 in a row to basically be back at break even or back to where you were. And for me, I've just had a lot more success trading 2-to-1 RR setups, so I always try to look for a 2-to-1 RR wherever I can. But in today's situation, which I'm going to show you, I did take a 1-to-1 RR, and I will explain why when we get there. And then number 6, lastly, kind of tying into what I just said, you are going to want to make sure that you are sized correctly for consistency. Now, a little side lesson, when it comes to being consistent as a trader, you want to make sure that your losses and your wins are roughly the same amount every single time. So for me on a 50K account, I aim for my losses to be right around $200, and I aim for my wins to be right around $400, no less or no more for either of them. I'm at the point where I'm able to just know how many I should be getting in with. If it does help you guys out a little bit, I will tell you that I personally trade 50K accounts, and I trade from anywhere with 3 to 5 micro NQ contracts. And then once again, I aim for my losses to be around $200 and my wins to be around $400. right, now that we've got that out of the way, I kind of want to just give you guys an idea of what I look for in a setup, or what I consider to be a good A+ high confidence setup, whatever the hell you want to call it. So when we are looking for a setup, we are going to be looking for a break and hold above or below our zones, obviously depending on which side we're playing. If we are looking to play longs, we are going to want to look for a break and hold above a zone. If we are looking to play shorts, we're going to want to look for a break and hold below a zone. This is like the backbone of this strategy that has never been tweaked or changed. The supply and demand zones will remain king forever. forever. Imbalance, imbalance, imbalance. Let me say it one more time. Imbalance. This is probably the second most important thing besides drawing good zones. Now, one thing I have learned from spending so much time in the market and backtesting this strat, especially as of recently, is that price is always looking to fill imbalance. If you don't know exactly what imbalance is, we're going to go over it a little more, so don't worry. 5-minute Hikinashi in line with our trade. If we are taking shorts, we want the 5-minute Hikinashi on the right hand side here to be red. If we are taking longs, we ideally want it to be green. Now, this doesn't have to happen every single time, but in order for me to consider a setup A+, I would like to see this. And my last point here, playing with trend continuation, kind of the same thing, but we are always looking to catch price and play in the way that it is moving. It's a lot easier to catch a part of a big move when you see it happening than try to catch a reversal, in my opinion. Some people like to trade reversals, but this strat, we are going to be looking strictly for continuation setups. First, I'm going to start off by literally giving you guys a walkthrough of exactly my thought process going into the market today, where I took one green trade. That's another thing I forgot to mention earlier. We're really only looking to take 2 trades max per day with this strategy. Most of the time, I usually only take 1. This vertical red line right here represents market open at 9:30 a.m., which is when I hop onto the charts and actually look to start trading and taking a setup. First thing we're going to do right before market opens, we are going to hop onto the 15-minute time frame, zoom out a little bit, and take a look at what we're working with. Immediately, I see 2 zones. First zone I'm going to draw out right here is this high up here. And then the next zone I'm going to draw out is this low right down here. You can see we rejected off of here once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times right on over here. Next thing I'm going to do is drop on down to the 5-minute and take a look again, see what we have. Now you could mark out something similar to this and look to play longs if we broke and held above these highs right here, here, and here. However, this right here is not enough imbalance for me to play in, so I personally am not going to make that zone. I am actually going to only look to play longs if we can break and hold above this zone up here. Today, ideally, I was looking to play shorts. Now, let me explain what I mean when I say we want to be looking for imbalance in the market. Now, the actual Google definition for imbalance in trading is this. It's a situation where buy orders significantly outnumber sell orders or vice versa, leading to potential shifts in asset prices. Now, what I look for that I consider imbalance is right here is a prime example from about this area right here all the way up to this area. You can see that we had an extremely clean move up on the 15-minute time frame. You know, going back to our Google definition, it basically said in this specific situation, it's where buy orders are going to significantly outweigh sell orders. So we just had a clean, strong green move up that right here is about 170 points tall. Now, right here, this area, yes, this is imbalance. You can see we had a clean red move down. However, this is only about 50 points, and I feel like it's going to be harder for me to find an entry in there as opposed to waiting for a close and hold below this zone where we have about 130 points worth of imbalance to play with until we get to our next significant low on the 15-minute time frame, which is going to be right around down here. Now, the reason I didn't want to play longs today is because if we came and held above this high right here, and this is the zone where I marked it where I said, okay, if we get above here, then I'll look to play longs. You can see I don't really consider this area imbalance. As you can see, we came up and then down and then up and then down and then up a little bit and then down. I don't consider that imbalance as much as I consider this imbalance, and even just looking at it, you can see what I mean. Anyway, now that we've got these zones marked out, we're gonna drop down onto the 1-minute time frame here and go ahead and replay market open today. All right, market opens, we're gonna drop on down to the 2-minute time frame and just replay market as it happened today. On the 2-minute time frame, I'm not looking to play longs until we get above this area or play shorts until we get below this area, so let's just see what happens. We have a pretty big dump off of open, come up a little bit, but then ultimately we end up dumping big time right here, closing below this level and retesting it. Perfect. This is exactly what I want to see. Now, at this point in time on the 5-minute Hikinashi chart, this is going to be right here, and 5-minute Hikinashi is red, so that does align with our confluence right now, so that is perfect. Now, I'm in business. I am officially looking to play a short setup. I'm keeping in mind that these candles are pretty volatile. On the 2-minute time frame, we're having candles that are about 30 points in size, so going into this trade, I'm knowing that I'm probably going to want to be sized down a little bit. Anyway, we close below this zone on the 1-minute time frame, retest it right here. Boom. Right as we get that retest, we get an absolute dump straight back out of it. I am so locked in now on shorts that this thing wants to dump even more. If I even go back out onto the 2-minute time frame, you can see that we closed green with this retest here, a pretty bullish candle right here, and then we close red again. Yes, we had a big bottom wick on it, but everything else was lining up, and this to me is an A setup. What would have made it A plus is if this candle closed a little higher and we were able to get in at a slightly higher price, so that I would have had a smaller SL and been able to size higher and made this trade a higher than a 1-to-1 RR. Anyway, I ended up getting filled right here at 21,606. I set my SL just above this zone, and I set a 1-to-1 RR. Now, I could have set a 2-to-1 RR. However, I would then be playing into my next zone, which is what I don't want to do, which means that we have filled this imbalance. By the time that price gets to here on my chart and in my eyes, we have filled that imbalance that I was talking about earlier. And right down here, price could potentially reverse. So I want my TP to be somewhere in between this zone. So a 2-to-1 would have been too big. So I just went ahead and set up the 1-to-1. Once again, I had a 55-point SL. Most of the time, I like to have anywhere between a 25 to 30-point SL. So this one was much bigger. So I did size down on my contract sizing quite a bit. Anyway, we let this thing play out. We come one tick away from hitting TP right there, but then we do eventually come right down here and end up hitting. So we did actually hit this trade, and that's an A setup in my books. Once again, wasn't an A plus setup because I would have preferred it to be a higher risk to reward ratio, but a great trade regardless. Anyway, if I was to go ahead and set that 2-to-1 RR right down about here, it would have hit, and I even could have played it all the way down to here. Obviously, I had no idea, and nobody could have told you that price was going to get to this exact level before it started reversing. So happy with my 1-to-1 trade, 55 points, dub on that right there. Once again, just looking at this trade in hindsight, you can see that we were playing with the trend. Starting right here, we were obviously in a downtrend, and we played in that direction. We closed below this zone, retested it, had a nice rejection out, little bit of a pullback, got in, SL above the zone, 1-to-1 RR. Once again, if you can, try to get a little bit better of a fill here so that you can increase this RR, even if you can up it to like a 1.5 RR. Ideally, you want a 2-to-1. However, 1-to-1 is totally fine as long as your win rate is over 50%. Just going into the market, I'm also seeing that this right here is such a strong level as we rejected out of it on the higher time frames. Not only once, not only twice, not only 3 times, but 4 times right here. We had this imbalance. As soon as market structure breaks to this downside and holds below this zone, I'm saying, okay, I think price right now wants to fill this imbalance that we made over here on Monday, and that is exactly what we did. Now, I'm going to give you guys one more example. So I've replayed my chart on over to Monday the 6th, and I'm going to show you guys exactly the trade that I took yesterday. So 9:30 a.m. market open is right here, once again marked out by that red vertical line. If I hop onto the 5-minute, I marked out first these lows right here that we rejected out of once and then twice again right here, and also these highs that we rejected out of once, twice, and 3 times right there. And also, if we come over here, we had that same high on over here a couple days prior. This particular area that we were in on this day looked so good to me. It looked good for both sides, but it specifically looked good for longs, and I hope that you are already able to see why. And that is because of this right here. I go ahead and mark out that high. You can see that from here to here, we had about 150 points worth of imbalance to the upside. And if I zoom in, you can see how that imbalance is made, how it was literally just a straight dump. Sellers just completely outweighed buyers in this area and dumped price so hard, over 150 points. Now to the downside, if I was looking to play a short setup, I would have been looking to play somewhere in between here where we have this imbalance. Mostly, you know, the best part of the imbalance is from here to here, which is about 70 points. You could even consider it all the way down here, which is a little over 130 points. But for me right here, this is textbook imbalance that I am looking to play and get filled. Also, this 15-minute candle right before market open, huge bottom wick, just a great indication that we want to make a move up on this thing. Also, what else are we doing? We are in a big uptrend on the higher time frame, which is the 15-minute in this case. I drop down onto the 2-minute, market opens. So right now, market opens and I'm looking for a break and hold above this zone to play longs, or I'm looking for a break and hold below this zone to play shorts. Let's see what happens. We break above this zone on the 2-minute time frame. I'm going to zoom on down to the 1. Now I'm going to wait for a retest. We got our retest right here, but that's still a pretty bearish candle, so I'm going to wait for some more confirmation. This candle right here is going to give me some pretty good bullish confirmation. That's a super bullish candle right there. If I go onto the 2-minute as well, that's also a decently bullish candle. I'm willing to take a stab at this thing. Let's hop in right here. Now, when you're in this situation, there are about 3 different places that I would choose to pick my stop loss. The safest would be below the zone, which is going to be 45 points. the midway point of the zone, which is going to be about 30 points, or below the previous low on the 1 minute, which is going to be right here, which is going to be about 23 points. Now, if I set my SL right here, this is a little more on the risky side, but in this case, I am very willing to run a 2-to-1 RR. If I have my SL right here at about 32 points, just below the midway of my zone, probably still willing to have my TP right around that area. So this is kind of the part of the strategy where it's up to you to figure out what works best for you. Personally, on this trade, I had my SL right there below that low, and I had a 2-to-1 RR set, and this trade did hit relatively quick. We came very close to being stopped out right there, but then I did end up hitting TP on it. And also, just for the record, if you did have your SL down there and you still wanted to rip a 2-to-1 RR, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, this thing did actually end up hitting. It took quite a while, but if you did that, you actually still would have taken profit on that and hit that 2-to-1 RR. So if you're willing to be in the trade a little longer and just, you know, if you're comfortable with a 90-point TP and a 44-point SL, then that's perfectly fine. You can do it. I'm mostly just trying to give you guys the basics of the strategy on how to find an entry, but 90% of the time I will always put my stop loss where I am comfortable having a 2-to-1 RR, which for a prime example in this trade was right below that previous low right there, and then I was able to run a 2-to-1 RR, and that was only a 47-point TP. I'm a lot more comfortable with having a 47-point TP than a 90-point TP. Obviously that can vary for everyone, so if you do want to use this strat or just take parts of it, make sure that you practice them first before you take them onto a place where it actually matters, like a live account or an eval. Anyway, you guys, that's pretty much going to bring this video to an end. I hope that you were able to learn a thing or two from it, and if you do choose to use this strategy, or maybe you just want to take some bits and pieces of things that you learned from this video and apply them to your own strategy, which is what I would recommend you to do instead of just copying my strategy verbatim, then I wish you the best of luck with it. But once again, make sure you backtest and use it on a demo account first. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this strat is constantly evolving and I am always looking to improve on it. So when I do make changes to it, I will be sure to keep you guys posted on the channel and make updated videos on the strat. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and that like button. Leave a comment as well. This is my first video on this brand new channel. If you want to check out my vlog channel, I'm going to leave a link to it right up here. Please do go subscribe on over to that channel as well if you want to see the behind the scenes of my entire life. All of my other socials are going to be linked down below, so make sure to go check all of those out as well. But I love you guys so much. I know this is a brand new channel, but most of you probably come from the Discord or from my other channels, so I just want to say thank you guys. I love you so much, all the support, and I am officially back making trading content. I hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.